is traumatic to grow up in an environment where you don't know where you're going to get your next meal from. It is traumatic to grow up in an environment and to experience abuse. We can never give anyone dignity. We can only affirm it. I'm talking about the power of investment because people don't necessarily become what you want them to become. They become what you encourage them to become and also what you invest in them to become. That's why I talk so much about proximity and the power of that. I see education as a tool, a capacity building tool for me to be able to serve more. I am a person that loves people, no matter what background or social location a person may emerge from. I've devoted my life to ensuring that other people have what they need as well to overcome their sufferings and their struggles.
What is From Dropout to Doctorate? What did you write?
I wrote this book to help people understand.
Hello and welcome to Three Questions, the series where I get with authors who have written something that you viewers need to read. I am here with Dr. Terence Lester today talking about a really incredible book, From Dropout to Doctorate. Dr. Lester, among many other accolades and publications, he is the author of this book here that we're going to talk about today, and he is the founder and executive director of Love Beyond Walls. Dr. Lester, how are you doing today? Thank you for being with us. How are you?
I am doing well. It is an honor to be here with you today. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'll start us off today, Dr. Lester, with our first question. Who are you?
I guess I'm going to answer this question in a non-biographical way. Like I am um, a person that has a big heart. I am a husband. Me and my wife will make 20 years of marriage this year, so I'm really excited about that. My wife is my best friend, and I'm a father. I have two children, Zion and TJ. My family means the world to me. I am a person that loves people, no matter what background or social location a person may emerge from. I love service. Obviously, I've given my life to a form of service that's not glamorized. It's servant leadership, right? And so I just love to serve people, to meet people where they are. And I guess my personal life's mission statement is, I wake up every day to help create a world where no one is invisible. And so that phraseology really drives me. And yeah, it's just who I am, man. I love people and I love ensuring that people are seen and feel they belong and feel like they are accepted and have their inherent worth and value affirmed.
That's awesome. And I love that theme in all of the work that you do, all of the things that you write about making the people who the world kind of invisibilizes, making them visible, making them feel seen. And that's really powerful. Is there anybody in your life who has really made you feel visibilized, made you feel seen?
I mean, it's too many to name, um, but I would like to shout out my wife in this moment. I was working in the back of a warehouse, my early 20s, and at that time we were just dating, and I was dreaming about a future in education and pursuing a path of obtaining my degree and possibly a future in obtaining my doctorate degree. And long before I was, the founder of a nonprofit organization, and long before I would interview on podcasts like these, and long before people would hit me up for speaking engagements or having a traditionally published book, um, my wife, her first gift that she ever buys me, man, she buys me this plaque that says Dr. Terence Lester. And I still have that plaque and it's sitting on my desk. And the reason I name her is because she believed in my dreams. She believed in my potential. And she has been an intricate part and the man that I've become and the way that I serve. And I just want to give her flowers because um, it takes a very special person to see someone beyond their environment, right?
Mhm.
For what God is able to do in their life versus where you currently see them. And although I was young and I was still dreaming, she really encouraged my drive in a way that has been fruitful in the way that we serve people who are vulnerable and historically marginalized in community through an organization that we co-founded called Love Beyond Walls. And you know, years later, I did obtain my degree. I've written several books, and I know we're going to get into the book that I recently wrote. But it's partly because people like my wife, or I could talk about Mr. Eason that I mentioned in the book From Dropout to Doctorate, who when I was trying to find my way and overcoming a lot of personal challenges, whether it was poverty and trauma and being raised in an environment where, it wasn't in the normal dialogue or conversation about going to school or having an educational future and things like that. Mr. Eason, who was a deacon in the church, spoke to me and would call me a leader. One day you're going to be a leader. One day you'll use the gifts that God has given you in a way to impact people. One day you'll have a testimony, right? All of these things that I hold near and dear to me, even in this moment. Um, and a few years ago, Mr. Eason passed, right? He helped to pay for my one of my degrees, right, and gave me that boost that I needed. And he was a real estate mogul. Like he helped to develop subdivisions and apartment complexes. He owned all this real estate. And one of the last text messages that I have in my phone right now that I read from time to time, he says that I was one of the greatest investments that he ever made.
Mm.
And that he was proud of the man and the father and the husband that I had become. And I'm not just saying these things as like to pat myself on the back. I'm talking about the power of investment because people don't necessarily become what you want them to become. They become what you encourage them to become and also what you invest in them to become, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why I talk so much about proximity and the power of that.
Yeah. That's powerful, man. And really, you are in the work that you do, you are a conduit of what has been invested in you by God, by your wife, by your mentors, by the people who love you. Those investments made into you, you are now exponentially increasing those in the world and in God's kingdom by blessing other
Yes.
people with that same type of investment. That's really powerful. That's really powerful.
I think Jesus said, if you want to be great, serve, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And speaking to his disciples. And I just feel that is the same approach I've taken. I was just recently asked, like, why so much education? Well, I see education as a tool, a capacity building tool for me to be able to serve more, right? If
Mhm.
I am expanded as a leader, it's not to be self absorbed or self consuming. It's to say, how can I use these tools that God has allowed me to obtain to serve others well, right? Whether it be the unhoused community and ensuring that they have access to showers or helping people to recover identification cards, having a space where they can call community because sometimes public sanitation is something that invisibilizes people who live without an address, right? If that's helping Title One schools right now. I'm actually sitting in a school. I was having a meeting with the principal here before I hopped on this podcast, and she was talking about some of the families and their struggles and the impoverishment and the transient nature that some scholars have to endure, right? Children never asked to be poor. Children never asked to be unhoused. Whether it's helping a family who's living out of a car because they would rather keep their family together
Hmm.
versus separating, because some shelters won't allow men to stay with their wife and children, children that are under the age of 12, especially if they're, identify as a young man. Um, these sorts of things um, is what drives me, right?
Yeah.
Because when I read the text in Matthew 9, and I see it says that, and he saw them weary and like sheep with no shepherd.
Yeah.
But then it says that Jesus was moved with compassion.
Yeah.
Man, what does it mean to be moved, right? With
Yeah.
compassion. It means to be moved when you see someone who is food insecure, to be
Yeah.
moved with compassion. It means to be moved when you see someone who is isolated or wrestling with impoverishment, to be moved with compassion, to serve them in a way, not that you are actually saved through your good works, but the text says that so people may glorify your Father in heaven. And I think I approach service is because, man, like everything that God has poured into my life, the mentors, the resources, giving me a testimony, allowing me to just have a heart of compassion. I want to pour that into others because except for the grace of God, there go I, right? And so
Mhm.
um, it is, it's just something that I've opened my heart to. I love it, man. Service is not a event; it's a lifestyle, and
Yeah.
we're just trying to live that out.
Yeah. God put it in you and you can't help but let it come out of you. You talk a lot about your own journey in from dropout to doctorate and a lot of what has brought you to where you are today. So I'd love to transition into the second question. What is from dropout to doctorate? What did you write?
I wrote this book to help people understand what Tupac Shakur uses as a metaphor, that there are, in fact, some people that are like roses trying to break through concrete, right? What is concrete? Concrete could be impoverishment, concrete could be uh, um, homelessness. Concrete could be dropping out of school based on your social barriers. Concrete could be, growing up in a food desert. Concrete could be not having access to the right mentors, making bad decisions, all of those things, right? And so how does a something that is supposed to be filled with life actually break through those hard exteriors? I mean,
Yeah.
in many ways, I use that metaphor to look at my life throughout the book. I look at history and the things that contributed to the hardness of the environments that I grew up in. Whether it was historical redlining or how systemic injustice in parts of the city actually concentrated poverty in certain neighborhoods, like the ones that I grew up in, and how that actually impacted me as a child growing up in these environments. And I even talk about poverty as trauma instead of
Hmm.
separating the term poverty from trauma, right? It is traumatic to grow up in an environment where you don't know where you're going to get your next meal from. It is traumatic to grow up in an environment and to experience, um, abuse. It is traumatic to grow up in an environment and feel safer running away from home versus being in the context of your home. And so, while those are like just things I'm talking about, I am kind of exploring how history actually sets up, um, political decisions that then in turn creates a social live reality for people that produces trauma that ultimately has negative outcomes, whether it's educationally and or in other ways. And yeah, I share my story. I share my personal journey, the challenges that I had to overcome, how I dropped out of high school, went back as a fifth year senior, had community kind of surround me, encourage me, how I experienced homelessness, how I was misguided, even to the points of having a restored relationship with my own biological father, and
Mm.
going on to obtain a PhD and starting an organization. And, God just really working in my life in a way
Yeah.
where not only was I able to overcome, but I've devoted my life to ensuring that other people have what they need as well to overcome their sufferings and their struggles. And so I write about all of that. I don't know if that answers your question, but you read it. What did you
Yep.
think?
Yep. That very much answers my question. And like I was sharing with you before we started recording, what I really appreciated about this book was you very masterfully weave your story in with the social commentary that you're doing, with the exploration of history that you're doing. And in the example of your own life, we see how, exactly like you're talking about, these historical developments and political decisions and
Yes.
these social realities manifest in a real life, and how God and supportive community enter into that real life to bring a beautiful and restorative outcome. And how that, like, we learn through this book, like, not only are we engaged in an amazing story, but we're learning through that story and through what you're teaching through this book how we can reproduce what happened in your life in the lives of others. And we see that I have a background in, I was a prison chaplain for about 8 years. I did some ministry in some neighborhoods where the people that you've described, I think aptly described as, I forget exactly the words you used, but something along the lines of traditionally marginalized or made to be invisible by society. In a few different ways, I've engaged in ministry alongside those folks. I don't like to say to those folks like they're just getting a handout, but alongside,
Right.
because they ministered and continue to minister to me as well. So in this book, I saw of so much conceptually that aligned with the ministry that I've done and what I've learned, and both from reading and studying and from engaging it personally uh, through ministry. I saw it come out in this book in a really powerful and well researched way. So I really enjoyed it. Really did.
Yeah. Uh, wow. I really appreciate you sharing. And that's it. It is my story should not be a rarity, right?
Mhm.
Um, I was talking to a couple of colleagues and a few professors, and we were talking about how much of a privilege it is just to dream,
Mhm.
devoid of suffering, devoid of can I pay that bill, devoid of I have a couple of kids and I don't even know how to wash their clothes because we have no washing machine and dryer,
Yeah.
devoid of being a student sitting in a classroom in the middle of winter with shorts on. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
very much aware of all of the things that screams at you you're not enough because you're in lack,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes you don't even have the mental margin to dream of a possible future, right?
Wow.
Poverty, as Coretta Scott King describes, is violent
Hmm.
because it targets the whole well-being of a person. It's not just economics, it's social, it's spiritual, it's environmental, it's occupational, it's physiological, it's psychological, it's relational. It literally invades everything and every aspect of your life,
Yeah.
right? And we have to go, how do we ensure that the young child that's probably in a hallway over who showed up without any socks on and is being bullied and is having a hard time connecting with the lesson has the opportunity to dream if they
Yeah.
want to become a lawyer, a doctor, a principal, a school counselor, a
Yeah.
podcaster, an author, whatever it is, right? We have to ensure um, that they understand that God has purpose in and through their lives, right? And I love the fact that you said, I come alongside people. And I think that is brilliant use of the language because we can never give anyone dignity, right? We can
Yeah.
only affirm it.
Come
right?
on.
Because
Yeah.
dignity and worth is inherent to all of God's creation, right? And so it is up to us to call that out, but to practice proximity in the way, right? And the word became flesh and dwelt among them, to
Yeah.
practice that type of proximity in the way where people are reminded. Mhm.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. We might have to call the choir up and get church started, man. So my last question is, why should people read From Dropout to Doctorate?
I think it's a book for people who are looking to understand how history impacts people still in the present moment, for people who are wanting to become more trauma informed about how to actually be proximate to people who carry, uh, forms of trauma that may be more than what one carries themselves. It's for the person who is dreaming about being or becoming community
Yeah.
to people and understanding what real proximate investment looks like. It's for the person who is trying to figure out organizationally, how do I create a safe space for, the future leader who is overcoming a set of circumstances that may be littered with certain challenges, right? And it's for the person who is still dreaming themselves, right? Who may be in the journey right now, and have had a certain set of circumstances that may not even be my own. It may be their own, but are looking for a story to communicate God's divine hope in the midst of all the struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. The subtitle of this book is Breaking the Chains of Educational Injustice. And I would add to everything that Dr. Lester has already shared that there are so many chains that educational injustice in our society latches onto people's wrists and ankles, and they need to be broken. And this book is a tool in breaking those. I'm so grateful to have you on today, Dr. Lester, and for being able to have had the privilege of reading this book. I highly recommend it to anybody watching this. Is there anything that you'd like to share as far as ways that people can find you and your work or participate in it, or any other initiatives that you want to spotlight?
Yeah. Well, firstly, thank you for this conversation. Thank you for reading the book and creating a safe space to dialogue about the complexities of life, but also the power of God. I would say if people are looking for the work that me and my wife do that I mentioned earlier, specifically, they can visit lovebeyondwalls.org. Currently, we are building what we call Zion's closets in Title I schools and schools that have higher concentrations of students who are impoverished. And basically, what that looks like is we go into a school, we partner with the principal, educators, social workers, counselors. We identify a classroom, and then we mobilize people to go into that classroom to retrofit it to become a resource center. Anything from showers to washing machines and dryers to refrigeration to hygiene products to uniforms to school supplies to a computer lab where parents can come in and fill out job applications if they don't have access to technology to just a safe space for students to come in and decompress, and even parents, right? And right now we have launched three of those. We're on our fourth school. So we are supporting a little over 1,700 students, and we have a list of about seven schools waiting. And this
Wow.
just shows you the level of need that is growing with the recent policy shifts that has redirected funds away from communities and schools and families who actually need the extra support. And so we're seeking to fill that gap through this program. And if you would like to learn more, you can actually go to lovebeyondwalls.org and click Science Closet to learn all of the wonderful things that we're doing to serve the Lord through how we show up to support students. And then lastly, if people want to reach out to me, terencelester.com, and my social media, I'm Terence Lester. That's IMTERENCELESTER. And I look forward to connecting to whoever reaches out.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. All of the links to all of those initiatives and to anything else that any other places that you can find Dr. Lester, those are going to be in the description of this video. I have been Pierce
Mhm.
Van Dunk of Van Dunk Edits. Anybody watching who needs help with books or editing services, please go ahead and check that out. And once again, thank you so much, Dr. Lester, for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.